My name is Keadrian Belcher Harris, and I am the CEO of Classy Inc., a nonprofit that focuses on youth building esteem and philanthropic opportunities that youth are able to engage in to improve their communities. And I am a native of Sacramento. I've been here all of my life, and I would not want to be anywhere else.
All right, all right. So, as it relates to black on black students and white on black students, we're talking about hate crime, bullying, as well as teen violence. And I'm so glad to have you come and give your feedback and perspective. So, what do you believe to be the root causes of the hate that youth, community members, ethnic groups are experiencing in California that you have seen, especially when we talk about causes of anger that make individuals and groups lash out hatefully to others without remorse?
Wow, that's an interesting and loaded question, but we host a lot of youth listening sessions for our youth to be able to participate in. So we're able to get a lot of feedback about what's going on and what they're experiencing. And I would have to say one of the biggest things that we're seeing is the situations where adults are in situations where they're blatantly exhibiting racism, whether it's in school, curricular activities, and then it's also giving an option for their peers to be able to exhibit that same type of behavior. I'll give you an example. We have a young student who at the time was 14 years old, and he lives in a pretty prominent neighborhood, and him and his friend were riding bikes together. And at the time, his friend's bike caught a flat tire. So the friend called a parent. The parent came and picked the friend up and asked, could our participant be able to ride the bike home with his bike? So that's what he agreed to do. As he's riding the bike home, he doesn't get a halfway down to the block, and a random neighbor stops him and accuses him of stealing a bike. She confronts him. She tries to hold him, threatens to call the police. And it wasn't until another neighbor who knew this student, got involved. But it's that type of blatancy that we're seeing from adults and oppressing young students. In addition, we're also hearing things from students who are in school who are experiencing, different types of bias and prejudices in their AP and honors classes, where they may be one of two students of color and they're not getting the same type of treatment that their peers are. A lot of microaggressions. And so it's very challenging to hear these things, but these are just some of the things that we're hearing from the students at our listening sessions.
Okay, okay. Um, Now, I do want to touch on what would you like to see from local public health partner agencies do to address these hate-based crimes, incidences, and bullying when we talk about preteens, teens in our communities?
Oh, that's the million-dollar question right there, right? I think one of the things that would be so advantageous to our youth and that we can really benefit from is if there is an investment in mental health resources. A lot of the things that we hear from our youth who participate in PSAs are addressing mental health, which is something very different from the generations before, right? It was always taboo. We didn't want to speak about it. But these young people are speaking openly about how we are in need of resources for mental health. And I'm not talking about just building esteem. I'm talking about addressing the issues that they're going through, things like racism, prejudices, bullying. These all have a significant factor on their self esteem and how they feel about themselves. And as of yet, we don't have a curriculum based mental health resource program to address racism or prejudice. We've try to encourage students to like be dismissive, the sticks and stones may not break my bones type of theory, but it's proven time and time again, and we can see that in the depression rates and the teen suicide rates, that method is very antiquated. It does not work. There's a definite need for an investment for youth mental health services, and that's not just coming from me, that's coming directly from the youth.
I would have to totally agree with you on the mental health services. So, when we talk about advice, what would be your best advice and or a quote for Black African American preteens and teens to live by as they are growing up in today's society faced with these issues?
It's pretty simple. To all the youth out there, bet on yourself, invest on yourself, know that you are enough, and know that every one of you have been gifted with a great talent, purpose, the ability to do the things that you can put your best foot forward at doing. It's really important that, you take the time to encourage yourself, to believe in yourself. There'll be so many situations, as we just previously discussed, where people will try to challenge your character. Well, they will, maybe you might be in bullying situations, but just know that you have the ability. And if you keep putting your best foot forward, the resources, the opportunities, and the success will come your way. But do not stop betting on yourself. You can do it.
I love it. We all need to bet on ourselves and invest in us. So, Kiki, as I have known you over the years for 17 years, first met you in our kickboxing class,
Mhm.
I've always admired you. Okay.
Ditto.
I have. And I just really want you to share with us how successful you have a very successful marriage with your husband, Darren. You all have three boys and two girls, five kids. I'm like, oh my God. And you're almost an empty nester. And I just want you to share with our audience, people who are watching today, who are having children or may have nieces and nephews, and you know what kind of advice could you give them on how you've dealt with some of these issues in raising your family, being a mother, working full time, starting a business, and then having to deal with some of these bumps in the road when it comes to violence and hate in our community?
Yes. I would never be proclaimed to be an advice giver. I feel like I'm always still learning myself. And that's part of the journey, to always be open to learning. But I would have to say first, we are a very faith-based family. We definitely believe in the power of prayer. We're a praying family. And I would have to say, in addition to that, Darren and myself, we're the type of parents that we are parenting in a different way in which we were parented. We allow our kids to be transparent, to utilize their voice. Sometimes a lot of times it's not always what we want to hear, but we understand the fact that they're not always going to be children. It's definitely not a dictatorship. This is a whole like camaraderie, a team of learning that, these are young people that are going to be adults one day and going to go out into the world and fulfill their purpose. And so it's been very instrumental to be able to have a family where we can openly talk about things. When it comes to some of these challenges that we're talking about, I mean, we're no stranger to, we have experienced all of these things where it pertains to bullying, racism. And one of the things that's been most helpful is not just having an open opportunity to talk about these issues, because oftentimes we're not listening to kids. I know oftentimes, a lot of parents, so how's your day going, but we don't really dive in. I am particularly a nosy parent, so I like to dive in. Well, what was good about your day, or what was bad about your day? I like to get to the meat of things and understand like what's really going on. We also encourage our kids to be good to each other as siblings, learning how to lean on each other, and teaching our kids, and just being the type of family that understands that wealth resides in the family unit. So many instances we deviate from understanding how fundamental it is to have a strong family unit. We get caught up in our businesses. We get caught up in, bills and social life and all of these different things. But in order to be able to navigate in this life and go through these challenges, you need a strong, solid unit. And it starts from home, it starts from family. So teaching our kids how to be able to not only invest in themselves, but investing in each other, and understanding, as parents that, we're raising individuals that are going to be one day taking care of us. So we have to be mindful that we're going to be back in their situation, God forbid, and we're allowed to be able to age and get older. So just understanding that. And I would say, as far as my husband and myself, just really working together as a team, being married, almost 22 years and working together, being able to listen, the ups, the downs, the challenges, it all works together. We're all working for a common goal to be happy, to put our best foot forward in everything that we do. And that does not eliminate the prospect of having a great family unit.